Alright, so here is the Leslie cabinet, which sits backstage, which is what the organ plays through. And what some people are probably not aware of is that the Hammond organ by itself basically sounds like ass. In order to have its trademark lovely sound, it needs to go through one of these. And so, at the other end of the cable is the Hammond organ itself. And you got two keyboards here. These are the drawbars, or basically the way we build sounds for the upper keyboard, and with these we build sounds for the lower keyboard. So if I'm on drawbar settings here, for the upper, and we have a couple of presets here. Full organ, which Janice has used a lot. And this one you might recognize. And this one they use only once or twice. Underneath here, we had a modification made on the instrument to have this switch installed years ago when we did the Nursery Crime and Foxtrot shows, and that is a device that stops one of the internal motors, or starts again one of the internal motors, so you get a kind of pitch bend effect like Banks used on Stagnation, and it kind of sounds like this. To be set up properly so I could have access to it during the show. You see various bits of what we call glow tape around the pedals, so that when it's dark on stage this tape shines a little bit so I can see where to put my feet. And at one point I had to play a bass pedal note or two. Sometimes when the guitarist or bass player is changing instruments or something, occasionally I had to play a bass pedal note or something. There was one in Battle of Epping Forest, and I can't remember where the other one was. And now this part of the kit, we've got the 88 note controller up here, and then we've got the Mellotron type instrument below it. And both these instruments, basically, in order for us to perform as a five-piece, in other words, not two keyboard players, I needed to do various technical things such that I could play different instruments with just these two keyboards, so they can switch sounds and do a whole bunch of different things. So basically, for the most part, these keyboards here actually trigger sounds contained in these samplers down here. As you can see, I have them labeled. This one is mostly piano sounds of various kinds, or keyboard sounds, and these are effects and things like strings, brass, and all sorts of different stuff like that. And the way that I get it to change sounds during the show is, you'll notice down here I have a patch change pedal, and basically this is the up, switching programs going up and going down. And what happens is, when I switch that, you can see over here that the mixer changes to various patches, as down here you'll see as well all the sounds change, so that with sort of flick of the switch I get a different setup. That's robbery, assault and battery, etc., etc. These boxes are loaded with the discs, the sounds contained on these two disk drives. Here is my monitoring system. I wear in-ear monitors because, especially for the quiet parts, you know, when there's just like one acoustic guitar playing on the far side of the stage, it's completely impossible to hear properly unless you have monitors. And this here is a convenient interface for me, so that during the show I can make changes on the fly. If I suddenly don't hear, you know, enough of somebody, I just hit their channel and turn them up or turn them down. If you can get close enough here, you can see the various channels that I have set up here. This is for the acoustic guitars, bass, drums, etc. Underneath you have a sustain pedal, and this is the all-important patch change center, which changes the sounds that both these instruments play at various points during the songs. This is an RMI phased distorted sound that Banks used quite a lot. And I got strings down here. And then for the next patch, I've got the famous Mellotron choir sound. This is a volume pedal which controls the sounds that emanate from both those keyboards. Here you have, of course, the Hammond. These two things here, by the way, are controls for whether you want fast or slow vibrato. And you also have a control which determines whether you have only the sound of the internal speakers, which you never want because they sound like garbage, or a mix of the garbage internal speakers with the Leslie, or just the Leslie on its own. This is the volume pedal for the ARP. So looking around back of the rack here, this is the patch bay where various mics and other sound sources are plugged in. As you can see, this is where my guitar plugs in, and the ARP, and these are outputs from the samplers and stuff in the rack. And you see down here, this is a unit which kind of simulates the sound of a Leslie. And this phase unit here, an MXR phase, was also a big part of their sound. Various things go through that. One of the more advanced technological innovations I instituted in the kit is the Comfort Suites face and body bar you see here. What it does is it supports this piece of wood. The reason why it's so important to support this piece of wood is because you see I got these notes here, and if the wood wasn't supported, you'd also hear these. See? So we needed to find a way to keep this floating so that it didn't play these other notes here. And here I have a couple of cheat sheets which I use. This one here is the drawbar settings on the Hammond for various songs, because certain things are strangely difficult to remember during the show, and this just sort of helps me along. That's the upper keyboard, that's the lower keyboard, and various other little mnemonic devices. This here is the Entangled solo, which I always had a strangely difficult time memorizing it, so I actually read that when I play.